And I think obviously sort of hydration is really important, making sure the child's had enough fluid, temperature control, so using things like Calpol to control their temperature, making them comfortable, thinking about sort of tepid or lukewarm baths with sort of something moisturising in the bath, nothing allergenic.
If they seem to be extremely unwell and have a very high fever, obviously seek medical advice. But for most children, chickenpox is a relatively mild disease. You can treat it without having to go to the GP. You can seek advice from your pharmacist and just manage it at home, being alert, if you like, for anything that might then go wrong if they're not having a normal progress of the disease.
Paracetamol and ibuprofen may help with the pain, but they don't necessarily make you feel better. So we were running out of options, and as a doctor you kind of always want to offer something. So it is great to hear that there's something now that does seem to be really effective as well as safe.
Calamine, from experience, from what I see from patients and from what I've known from treating my own nieces and nephews, is basically it dries a lot quite quickly. You have to apply it more often than not. It dries, it can cause scarring, it's messy, it stains clothes, and a lot of people complain about it. But in the absence of an alternative in their view, there's nothing else that they can use.
I have to say, I'd always assumed I was the only doctor I knew who found calamine lotion completely useless. Now I realise that actually I'm not alone. It may soothe temporarily, very briefly, but actually it doesn't take very long for it to dry, it becomes sticky, it becomes cracking, and it makes symptoms worse. My patients were telling the truth, and my other colleagues have confirmed it.
I'm racking my brains. I don't think we used calamine, but because in fact my own experience of having calamine as a child was so bad. I remember it very, very clearly, sticking to my skin, drying out, and then making the itching worse. And I was trying to tell my mother, can you stop doing that? But the reality is that you do feel a bit powerless as a parent, and it would be great to have better products.
I think modern science has a lot to offer with the treatment of chickenpox, with the itching and to soothe it. We have new gels now which are used, for example, to cool burns. And it seems sensible that now there is a chickenpox gel which you can put onto the spots of chickenpox in order to reduce the itching, to soothe any pain, because it can be painful. It's a bit like lying on a bed of nails, and to promote healing and to help to reduce infection and scarring.
And then also I spoke about calamine lotion, and that was really, that's almost sort of what Granny tells everyone to use, and I had no knowledge of any other alternatives.
Virasoothe doesn't seem to dry the skin out, and in fact when you put it on it feels quite nice and soft. It's not scented, which is actually great in terms of not causing irritation, not causing potential allergies, and it doesn't leave any residue on the skin, so it's not drying it out. I think it's been very difficult for us as doctors to provide any advice about chickenpox because there's not much you can really offer. We know, for instance, that antihistamines help, but only if they make you sleepy, because they don't really reduce the itch, they just put you to sleep.
Red flags, children that aren't getting better, children that appear to get better and then become unwell again, children who get over that initial sort of 5 days to having a high fever and then they get better and then they have high fevers again, children whose spots become infected, or children with sort of very sort of concerning symptoms like dizziness, lethargy that's ongoing, and children who have a sort of unsteady gait, unsteady on their feet, or sort of any respiratory or breathing problems as well.
Firstly, parents need to know what is normal. They need to know what normal chickenpox looks like. They need to know that the rash is a blistering rash, so that it has these little clear fluid-filled vesicles, little blisters on the skin. They need to know that those blisters come in crops over a series of several days. In the beginning of the illness, it's associated with high fever, but by day 3 or 4, even though they may still be getting new spots, the child is improving. And they absolutely need to beware if that child who seems to be improving starts becoming unwell again with higher fevers than, the fever is coming down and then suddenly it starts spiking back up to 39, 40 degrees. That's a real key indicator that something is wrong and that they must trust their judgment. They need to go and get some help for that child.